Scripture tells us about a man named Barrabas who was released in Jesus' place. That's all we really know about Barrabas for sure. But the tradition of the church, one tradition of the church, is that Barrabas stuck around that day and he saw what took place and he was changed forever as a result of it. And so this is kind of a dramatic retelling, a fictional account, but what it might have been like had Barrabas really done that, had he stuck around and seen what transpired after he was released. This is the story of Barrabas.
Yeah, I'm Barrabas. Who wants to know? Yeah, that's me. I'm the guy. Yeah, the one they let go earlier today. That's me. What do you want? Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it. I was there. I saw it. Oh, you want to hear my story? Fine. Fine. It's a hot night. I'll take a break. I'll tell you my story. My story begins like this. I'm a murderer. Yeah, I'm good at it, too. Murderers Club voted me Murderer of the Year 3 years in a row. Yeah, I especially like killing the Roman soldiers, the guards, you know. I like taking those guys down. Everybody thinks they're invincible, but they're really not. You just got to know what you're doing. See, they got this breastplate of armor, and then they got this back plate of armor. And they hook them together with these leather cords. You know, they tie them together, and they're supposed to crank them down real tight to make it a complete set, you know, all the way around. But some of these guys, they're kind of lazy. Some of these guys are a little sloppy. They don't tie them so good, and so there's a little gap in there. Just an inch. But if you know what you're looking for, and you got the right equipment, you can take them down. Little spot right there between those two ribs, and I got good at it. I come up, just play all cool. How's it? How's it? Take them right down. Fall like a stone. Wouldn't even make a sound most of the time. I was good at it, I'm telling you. Enemy number one. That's what they call me. Public enemy number one, Barrabas. Yeah. I like that. Well, I could tell they were getting close. They were going to catch me. It was just a matter of time. I was doing too much of this. I could feel the heat coming around me. Feel that dragnet coming in. It was just a matter of time. So here's what I did. I took my extra knife and I went and I hid it. That way I figured they catch me, maybe I get lucky, I escape, I can come back and get my knife. Still be ready to go. Be prepared. That's my motto. Boy Scouts stole it from me, but I started it. So yeah, they caught me. Like I said, just a matter of time. They take me and they drop me in jail, put me in this dungeon-like cells, like 10 or 12 of us in there. And I'm waiting. But I know what's coming. They're going to crucify me. Yeah. You ever seen anybody crucified? You never forget it. You never forget it. So I'm waiting in there. I've been in there several days. All of a sudden I start hearing this real loud crowd outside, you know, and it's like they're saying the same thing over and over and over again, but I can't make it out. I can't tell what they're saying. So I go over to the window, and I got these bars on the window, you know, and I lean my head out there as close as I can get, and I listen, and I can hear them. They're saying, Barrabas! Barabbas! We want Barabbas! Give us Barabbas! I say, oh, great. That's just what I need. A lynch mob coming to get my head, like I don't have enough troubles already. About that time, the door busts open, and this big burly sergeant comes in. He points his club at me. He says, hey, you Barabbas? I said, yeah, I'm Barabbas. Who wants to know? He said, hey, you're free. Get out of here. I said, come again? He said, you're free. Some guy just took your place. Beat it. Hit the bricks. Well, I thought this is a monumental mistake, some kind of clerical error or something. They're definitely going to come back and say, whoa, that's not right. You better stick around here, buddy. I thought, no, I'm not going to argue with him. I'll just slap it in B for boogie and boom, I'm gone, man. I'm running. I'm putting lots of distance between me and there. All of a sudden, that dawns on me. Wait a minute. Somebody took my place? Somebody took my place. How bad must that guy be to take my place? I mean, I'm Barrabas, baby. Enemy number one. Who's bad enough to take my place? In fact, I got a little bit jealous, to tell you the truth. So I said, I got to go check this guy out. He must be some piece of work. So I go find my knife, like I told you, hit it, be prepared. I go back and I start looking. It doesn't take me long. There's a big crowd all gathered around this one guy. I can tell he's the guy. And the guys are doing their normal thing, their bully thing, shoving him around, beating on him a little bit. Nothing out of the unusual going on there. And I asked some of the guys around, I said, hey, who's that guy? They said his name's Jesus from Nazareth. Jesus in Nazareth. Never heard of him. I said, what is he, a murderer, rapist, bank robber? What's he do? They said, he's a preacher. I said, what? He said, he's a preacher. I said, wait a minute. I'm Barrabas. I'm a murderer. They let me go, and they're going to kill the preacher. Kind of makes you glad you're not a preacher, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'm watching this for a while, and after a while, the guards, they get a little bit bored. They decide they need some kind of a little game to keep them occupied. So they get this blindfold, and they put it on Jesus' eyes. And they say, okay, you're supposed to be a prophet, right? Okay, Mr. Prophet, prophesy for us. Which one of us just punched you in the face? Boom! Another guy comes up. New guy, Jesus. New guy. Guess. Who is it this time? Who punched you this time? And they're doing this over and over again. They're just getting their jollies off of it. They busted his nose. He's missing a tooth or two. He's got blood streaming down his face. And I'm starting to get a little ticked off. It's just about enough. There's only 3 of them. Murderer of the year, right? I say, I can take care of this. I start circling around the leader. I figure I take him out when the other 2 aren't looking. They'll see him go down. They'll run over to see what's up. Boom, boom. I take them all 3 out. So I'm coming up. I look. Sure enough, he's one of them sloppy guys. He left the space. I'm zeroing in on that. I'm like, hey, how's it? How's it? Right up beside him, about to take him down. I look over at Jesus, and all of a sudden his blindfold has slipped a little bit off of his face, and his eyes showing through it. We make eye contact just for a second. You're going to think I'm crazy. You're going to think I'm crazy, but it's like he's saying to me in my mind, like I can hear him talking in my mind, and he's saying to me, Barrabas, don't do it, don't do it. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, don't do it. Put the knife away. I told you think it's weird, but I swear to you, it's like I could hear him talking in my mind. So I think, I get it. He's got a plan, right? His buddies, they're coming for him. They got a whole plan. I'm messing up the whole thing. I'm wiping out the timetable. I'm going to screw the whole thing. I got it, Jesus, no problem. I'll hold back. So I wait, and I watch. But they don't come. Nobody comes to help him. He's all by himself. So the guards had been doing this for a while, and then they realized, it's time to take him back to Pilate. So they haul him off to Pilate. Pilate says, hey, I don't see anything worthy of killing this guy. We're just going to scourge him, and then we'll let him go. We'll just do that. And people, they don't like that idea, but Pilate's adamant, we're just going to scourge him. Okay, go scourge him. You ever seen anybody scourged? Never forget it. So they take Jesus to this scourging post. It's this big post in the middle of a big open courtyard, and there's a big iron ring at the top of it, and they take this rope and they tie his hands together and they throw the rope up through this ring, and then they yank it down on the other side and they tie it off. And so it's like he's stretched out like this up on his tiptoes. And they come and they rip his robe down off of his back, and you can see how tight his skin is. I mean, it's going to tear easy when they hit him. That's the idea. This big guard, he's got this thing called a cat of nine tails. It's this big whip, and it's got all these different little woven pieces of leather, kind of like this bracelet, right? And each braid put together, they stick in a little piece of broken pottery or a little sharp stone or a chunk of metal, anything sharp that'll cut you. And there's 9 different strands like this where they put them all together. And they coat the whole thing with goat's blood so that it'll stick to your skin real good when it hits. And he takes aim at Jesus all stretched out like this, and he shakes that whip out. And he whips it through the air, and you can just hear it whistle. And it wraps around Jesus' back, and when it hits him, it's this loud, sticky, wet, slapping kind of noise. And all these things wrap around his body, and all those little sharp pieces dig into his flesh. And then the guy with the whip, he gives the handle a hard twist, and he yanks on it, and it just rips this thing off of Jesus' body and rips the wounds open, and blood begins to flow. He takes aim, and he does that a second time. And a third time. And he keeps doing this, and it's hitting around his legs sometimes, and it's hitting his arms sometimes, and it's hitting his chest and his stomach, and even hits his head a couple of times. Jesus is just bleeding all over the place, and they don't stop at 5 or 10 slashes. They don't stop at 15 or 20 hits or 25 or 30, not even 35. 39 times they do this to Jesus, and then they stop. And you know why they don't go to 40? Not everybody knows this. But almost everybody who gets 40 lashes dies right there on the scourging post. They don't even get him off of the post. And so it's like they intentionally beat him within an inch of his life and then stopped and let him live a little bit longer so that they could torture him some more. And so I'm looking at Jesus hanging on this scourging post, and it's just like a big blob of hamburger meat. That's what it looks like. They come up and they cut that rope down, and he falls into the dust. This little cloud of dust sort of floats up in the air and then begins to settle back down on top of him. And all that dust mixes with the blood of his open wounds, and it's just this big, bloody, muddy mess. They take his robe and they throw it on top of him, and immediately the blood just soaks right through the fabric, and it begins to congeal and dry. They haul him back to Pilate. Even Pilate's shocked to see him. He says to the crowd, see, I did what I told you I was going to do. I scourged him. That's enough. He's been punished enough. Let's let him go. The crowd said, no. Crucify him. Crucify him. Crucify him. Crucify him. It goes on, and finally Pilate says, I give up. I wash my hands of this mess. You want to crucify him? Fine. We'll crucify him. Go crucify him. So the guards haul Jesus off to this getting ready kind of place, because they're crucifying some other guys that day too, and they got some things to prepare, and so they're waiting, and there's a couple guys guarding him. And like they've been doing all day, these guys, they get a little bit bored too. They figure they need a game with Jesus. And so one of them says, hey, isn't this guy supposed to be a king? And the others go, yeah, king of the Jews, right? King of the Jews. That's you, Jesus, right? You're the king of the Jews. You know what? He don't look like no king to me. No, he don't look like a king. What's he need to make him look like a king, guys? And they say, let's see, a king, he needs a scepter. Kings need scepters, right? They hold it in the hand, they rule their people. Yeah, so they find a stick and they shove it in his hand, and there's your scepter, your majesty. What else a king need? What else he need? Oh, a robe, yeah. Kings got robes. So one of the soldiers, he takes that red cloak. You see those Roman soldiers with their red cloaks all the time. He takes one of those off and he wraps it around Jesus. He says, yeah, that's kingly. That's kingly right there. You look great, your majesty. What else does the king need? He said, he needs a crown. Yeah, what are we going to do for a crown? One of the guys, he goes and finds this thorn bush, and it grows these thorns like 5-6 inches long, right? And he weaves this together in kind of a circle shape. He comes over and says, here's your crown, your majesty. And he puts it on Jesus' head, but it's too small. It doesn't fit all the way. So these guys, they take their clubs and they beat it down over Jesus' head, and they stab all of these thorns into his scalp and into his forehead. And again, new blood begins to flow down across his eyes and his face. And they laugh at him and they say, oh, hail King Jesus. Oh, hail your majesty. And they bow down before him. And they laugh at him and they spit in his face. They punch him some more, and they grab big handfuls of his beard, and they rip it out by the hand, and they kick him. They're just having a grand old time. Well, then their commanding officer, he shows up, and he says, hey guys, knock it off. It's time to get this over with. Let's get this on the road. Let's crucify this guy. So they grab a big beam of wood, and they put it on Jesus' shoulders. And they point up to this hill called Golgotha. It means the place of the skull. They name it that because it looks like a human skull, like these two big open orbs, these eyeless skull face on the side of the hill. The Greeks call it Calvary. They say, there's Golgotha, Jesus, march. And so he heads up the road to Golgotha. It's not an easy climb up Golgotha, even when you haven't been beaten all day long, and even when you're not carrying your own cross, dragging it up behind you. And so I'm following along, and I see Jesus fall. And every time he falls, they come in and they immediately beat him some more and force him to stand up and carry the cross a little bit further. And then he falls again, and they do it again. They beat him again and haul him a little further up the hill. Finally, he falls a third time, and he can't get up this time. They keep beating him, and they keep screaming at him, but nothing's going to do it. He's just beat. He's wiped out. He's spent. So they grab a guy out of the crowd, and they force him to carry the cross the rest of the way up the hill. So then they get to the top of the hill. They grab that robe again. Again, all the blood has soaked through. It's all dried. And as they rip that robe off of his body, it rips those wounds open again, and it begins to flow fresh blood. They shove him down onto the ground, onto the cross, And one comes over and he stomps down on Jesus' arm, right here on the forearm. And another one, he grabs a big spike, about the length of this carriage bolt here. And he puts it right in between these two bones, just above his wrist. And he takes aim with that big hammer like this, and he drives it through Jesus' arm into the wood. And then they go around to the other side, and they stomp on that arm, and they take another big spike, and they put it on his wrist, and he takes the hammer, and he drives it home as well, through the flesh of Jesus and into the cross behind him. Then they hoist this whole thing up into the air. And they built this thing so that there's like a 2.5, 3 foot deep hole where the base of the cross will sit down in, and that'll keep it from tipping over when they get it up. So they get it up, lined up, and they drop it into the hole. And when they do that, it dislocates the shoulders of the person being crucified. It doesn't break their bones, but it dislocates the joint. And it makes all of the tendons and all of the muscles in the chest and the back and the shoulders, they rip. And when it rips like that, it sounds like wet burlap just tearing. And Jesus is hanging there. And this is why they do this. When they crucify somebody, what kills you is your lungs begin to collapse. You can't get your breath, and you begin to fill with fluid. You suffocate on the cross. That's why it takes hours, because they put a little shelf under your feet. And you can't pull yourself up with your arms because they're dislocated. You can't do anything with them. So you have to push up with your feet to get the pressure off of your back so that your lungs can get a breath. Because if you're just hanging there, eventually you're like, so you have to push up and get a big breath. So they did that with Jesus, but they went a little step further. They put one foot on top of the other. They took an even longer spike, and they drove it between both legs. And there Jesus hung between heaven and earth, crucified. And I couldn't believe it. I was just stunned, because I had the chance to set him free. I could have gone in and taken those 3 guys down, boom, 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 and we could have been out of there already before any of this stuff happened. But he told me, no, this is going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Don't do it. Don't do it. Put the knife away. So I did, and I waited. But now look at this. I can't do nothing now. How am I going to help him now? I can't do anything. So I'm watching and listening to what's going on around me, and I can't believe it. The crowd is just ruthless. They're just screaming all kinds of obscenities at him, and they're mocking him and laughing at him. They say, oh, Jesus, you're supposed to be the Son of God. That's what you told us. Well, how come you can't bring yourself down off of the cross? You saved all those other people. Why don't you save yourself, Jesus? Come on. And they're laughing at him. If it had been me on that cross, man, every minute I could have got up to get a breath, I would have cussed them people out. I'd have told them what's what. But he's not saying nothing. He's just being silent the whole time. Finally, I see him push up on that spike, and it's so painful because that's right up against these nerves in your legs. And so when you're pushing your whole body weight up on that spike that's up against the nerve in your legs, you can't imagine how painful that is. And he pushes up to get a breath. And then the pain's too bad. He has to slump back down for a while. This has been going on for a while. It takes hours for people to die this way. And then Jesus gets up and he takes a big breath, and you can just tell he's getting ready to say something. And I'm thinking, oh, this is it. Finally he's going to tell these people what's what. He's going to tell them off good. And so I start cheering for him. Come on, Jesus, cuss them out. Cuss them out good, Jesus. You cuss them out. Tell them. And here's what he says. He says, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Forgive them, Father. And he slumps back down. And I'm stunned. I'm just stunned. I can't believe it. Father, forgive them. You want to forgive these people for what they just did to you? The way they beat you and they scourged you, they skinned you alive and nailed you to a piece of wood and dropped you in a hole to die. Forgive them? I don't understand. I don't understand at all. So I'm watching, and the day progresses like this. He gets up, he breathes, he falls, he breathes, he falls. It's terrible to watch. I'm a murderer. It's tearing me apart watching this. So then about noon, suddenly gets really dark. I mean, not like cloudy dark. I mean like pitch black midnight dark. The whole land just covered in black darkness. It's the strangest thing. Highest point of the day should be the brightest, hottest part of the day. It's just black sky everywhere you look. It's like all of heaven is mourning what's going on right here at this time. And then Jesus, he pushes himself up again, takes a big breath, and I can tell he's going to say something else. And this time he says, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And everybody's still laughing at him, mocking him, not taking it seriously, not realizing what's going on. I don't even really know what's going on. But I hate what I'm seeing. I hate what I'm watching. He has a conversation with these two guys beside him. I can't hear it. I'm not close enough. But the one guy, all of a sudden, this amazing look of peace just comes over his face. Whatever Jesus said to him just changed his whole world. And he's hanging on a cross ready to die too. And now he doesn't even look sad about it. He's like at peace. Everything's okay. I hear those words in my mind again. Don't do it. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. But I still don't understand. I still don't get it. And so I'm watching this and I'm seeing the impact that he's having on this guy even while he's being crucified. And I start to think, maybe this guy really is who he says he is. Maybe he really is the Son of God. And if that's the case, what's going on here? This shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. This is wrong. We need to do something about this. And so I start talking to the guards. I say, hey, can't you see this isn't right? He shouldn't be up there. He doesn't want to listen to me. So I go and talk to this guy. Hey, can't you see what's happening here? I mean, look at this guy. Don't you see what's happening? He shouldn't be up there. Can't you? He don't want to listen either. I go grab another guy and I'm grabbing him and he's shoving me off him. I said, look at that guy, man. Look at what's going on around you. Can't you see he shouldn't be up there? Can't you see he shouldn't be up there, man? He shouldn't be up there. I should be up there. I should be up there. He took my place. Don't you understand? He took my place. He shouldn't be up there. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I was just kind of emotional, man. It was just a few hours ago. I don't know what to make of this. So, about 3 o'clock, it just gets this weird feeling in the air. You feel that sometimes. There's just something not right. You feel like something bad's getting ready to happen. And Jesus, he pushes up one more time, and you can just tell this is it, man. This is the last time we're going to hear from him. And he says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And he breathes in real deep, and then he lets it go. He dies. Right in front of us, he died. Well, then there's this earthquake, man. You wouldn't believe it. This massive earthquake. You were here today. You felt it. It was crazy. People freaking out, running for the hills, man. They don't know what's going on. And then this centurion, this guy that's been in charge of the whole thing, this Roman guy, he turns and he looks at me. And he looks back at the cross, and his mouth's just hanging open, and he's pale as a ghost. And he looks at me, and he recognizes me, and he says, truly, this man was the Son of God. We've just killed the Son of God. I think he's right. I think he's right. I think that's what we did. He took our place. He took our place. Now, I wasn't the only one on Golgotha today. There was those two guys that were being crucified beside of him. I mentioned them before. They've got a story to tell too. Two thieves, one on Jesus' left and one on his right. And this is his story. I am a thief. I am a murderer, walking up this lonely hill. What have I done? I don't remember. No one knows just how so long, oh, such a long time, since I've lived with peace and rest. Now I am here, my destination. They say things turn out for the best, but I know that my time is coming soon. Who is this man beside me, that they call the King of the Jews? They don't believe he's their Messiah, but somehow I know that it's true. Yeah, yeah. Well, they laugh at him in mockery, and they beat him till he bleeds, and they nail him to the rugged cross, and they raise him up. Yeah, they raise him up next to me. My time has come, I'm slowly fading. Oh, I deserve what I have received. But Jesus, when you are in your kingdom, would you please, please remember me? Yeah, yeah. Well, he looks at me still holding on, and a tear falls from his eye, and he says, I tell the truth to you today, you will be with me in paradise. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know that my time is coming soon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know that my time is coming soon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know paradise is coming soon. Way, way too soon. So here's the question. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, to tremble, to tremble. 'Cause all my sins were there when they crucified my Lord. Were you there when they nailed him to that tree? Were you there when they nailed Jesus to that tree? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, to tremble, to tremble. 'Cause all my sins were there when they nailed him to the tree. And were you there when they laid him in tremble, to tremble. All my sins were there when they laid him in the tomb. It's Friday night. It's late Friday night when Jesus is dead. He's in the grave. He's in the tomb. But there's still hope, because on Sunday morning, everything will be different. But the disciples didn't know that on Friday night. On Friday night, all was lost, and all they knew was that Jesus had been crucified, died, and was buried. And that's what they had to deal with throughout the weekend until the light came up on Sunday morning and everything was different. So we're going to wait and experience that joy that happens on Sunday. We're going to wait and experience that Sunday morning. Tonight, I just want us to hold on to what this feels like. What Jesus went through for you. What Jesus went through for me. Because it wasn't just Barrabas' place that he took on the cross. He took your place on the cross. He took your place on the cross. He took my place on the cross. He really shouldn't have been up there. We should have been up there. But because of God's great, amazing love for you and me, Jesus came and took our place. Yay, God? Amen. Yay, God. Let's pray together, and then we're going to close our service tonight. Father God, we thank you for this amazing story that's not just a story. It's history. It's history. Jesus really did come. Jesus really did die. Jesus really was buried in the tomb. And as we'll celebrate in just a couple of days, he really did rise from the dead. So for us, almost 2,000 years later, we hold on to that hope that the first disciples, they really weren't too sure about that. They wanted to believe it, but they just couldn't wrap their minds around it. So God, help that be an encouragement to us as we go out of this place tonight, fully embracing the crucifixion of Christ, letting that live in our minds and in our hearts, and appreciating what it was that he did for us when he literally became our sin on the cross and died so that the power of sin and death and hell over us could be put to death. And when he buried himself in that tomb, when he rose again later, he left all of that stuff buried. It's in our past. It has no authority over us anymore as long as we are walking with Jesus, the victor, the conqueror, the King of the Jews, the King of the Gentiles, the King of the world, the King of kings. I pray for everyone here tonight. If they've never put their faith in Jesus as their Lord and Savior, if they've never stopped to think about what it is that he did for them on that day, that we remember as Good Friday, that tonight would be the night it all comes together. And they say, oh my goodness, God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you did for me. Thank you for forgiving me of all my sins, all my rebellion, all of my efforts to be the God of my own life. Forgive me for that pride. Wash me clean. Make me a brand new person. If that's the prayer of your heart, you can say, me too, God. And Lord, I want to be a follower of Jesus the rest of my life. I want him to be the Lord of my life, the CEO, the manager, the director, the one who calls the shots. You're God, I'm not. You're smart, I'm not. You lead, I'll follow. That's my place in this world. If that's the prayer of your heart, you could say, me too, God. Me too. God, I pray for everyone here tonight, as well as those who will see this online later, that this would be the moment they remember who Jesus really is, and that they give their heart fully to him on this Good Friday. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you. That concludes our service tonight. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.